Aloha friends, and welcome to today's video. Today I want to share about the value of hopelessness. Hopelessness is something I've seen to not be welcomed by most individuals, and it certainly was not a feeling or frequency that I personally wanted to experience for the longest of times. But now that I've experienced it, and many years later, once I heard an explanation, or rather read a beautiful explanation of the value, now I'm here to share it with you. So, coming out of college, I was very much into doing whatever I saw fit on an emotional level. I had a high tendency for binging on alcohol, binging on energy drinks, but it was a daily binge. It began in college, but it continued afterwards. And in college, I experienced my first bone fracture, and the doctors congratulated me. They said, "Good job. This is a clean break through the fibula." And they put on the cast, gave me a boot, and said, "You can walk on it." So it really didn't stop me. And the following year, roughly 11 months later, I broke my right ankle. Now, that one, I crushed the bottom of my fibula and tibia. And so that one was very painful. That one, I needed prescription painkillers in order to be able to sleep through the pain and to heal. And while this is a bit of a tangent, my right ankle and leg hadn't recovered up until just about 2 months ago. And this fracture occurred 11 years ago. So I needed some extra attention to get my nervous system reset. Because even though mentally and muscularly I had healed, and skeletally, skeletally I had healed, my nervous system was still holding on to the trauma. And it was only in the last 2 months, roughly, that I was able to release that. So moving on, 2 years later, after I broke my right ankle, I experienced another fall, and I fractured the tip of my left arm, my left elbow. Now, this was just the tip. And so I didn't even go to a medical doctor for this one. I was able to go to my chiropractor, and through the use of a tuning fork, he was able to ascertain that that bone was indeed broken and the one next to it was not. So if any of you are out there just checking to see if you have a fracture, you take a tuning fork, you put the end of it on the bone, and it will transfer those vibrations into your bone. And if your bone is whole, it won't feel like much. But if your bone is broken, well, broken pieces will vibrate against each other and set off all of those nerves. It's such an exquisite feeling of pain. I had him do it twice. And I just didn't carry anything greater than 10 pounds for 6 weeks, and it healed on its own. And then, was it 1 year or 2 years? Either 1 or 2 years later. I'm going to say 2. 2 years later, I fell down the stairs of my house, and I hit my head. So I woke up. I was unconscious, and I woke up in a puddle of my own blood spewing from my forehead, with a completely shattered left wrist. Talk about a literal wake-up call. And I got up, and immediately I started to see stars. And I just had this draining feeling as the blood rushed away from my bleeding head, that if I didn't somehow gather the focus to be able to get to my phone and make some choice phone calls, there was a good possibility I could pass out and not wake up again. And I focused my will to being able to get to my phone and be here now. And so in those following moments, in those moments, I realized the hopelessness of my current situation with regard to how I was taking care of myself and with regard to how I was treating myself. And I really recognized the hopelessness of my patterns, of my beliefs, and of the story that I was telling myself. And at that moment, even though I didn't realize it consciously, I was able to experience the benefits of true hopelessness. And I was able to work with my chiropractor and then eventually other teachers how to rewrite and reprogram myself so that I wasn't doing these patterns that was slowly killing me. Life has a way in my life of using accidents to redirect me. I happen to know that is directly related to my Mars position, and that's okay. The good news in my life is I have Jupiter in the 8th house ruling my ascendant, making sure that the fallout, literal fallout from falling down the stairs, ends up being not so bad, and that I get to grow every time my Mars takes over. Jupiter's right there saying, okay, you learned your lesson, right? All right, you can grow now. It's important to know that hopelessness serves a purpose. And when we look out into the world and we experience some degree of hopelessness because we don't see what we would prefer, it's important to have a conversation with that aspect of yourself that's experiencing that hopelessness, because it could be serving a greater purpose. It could be serving a greater purpose for all of those individuals that through your own perspective might be spiraling down into a pit of no return. It could very well that some of those individuals are indeed spiraling into a point of no return. And it could be that some of the others are going to hit their head and wake up in a puddle of their own blood and recognize that it's time to embrace something different. And it's up to the rest of us to hold space for them and to remind them of who we are and that we're here to help each other. Thank you.